Greetings, mortals! This is Wizard Prang here, with another Eve Echoes video. Well, it's more of a podcast, really. The visuals are just there for kicks and giggles, so feel free to plug in your headphones and turn off your screen if that's your preference. Now, I've been playing Eve Echoes from day one. That's almost 3 years now. I love this game, but I'm seriously considering my long-term future in it. Now, I'm not planning on leaving anytime soon, but my involvement in the game has definitely changed of late. And I'm not the only one. I've watched content creators like Sovereign RPG and more recently Captain Benzie go from optimistic to satisfied to watchful to jaded to cynical to annoyed to frustrated to despairing to no longer here. And understandably so. Leading lights and luminaries leaving should be ringing alarm bells at Netease headquarters, but they aren't. I sometimes think that if Netease stopped the game tomorrow, I would be saddened by the loss of community that we've built together, but I suspect that I would find other, probably more profitable ways to use my time, like podcasting or perhaps a return to voice acting, or I've always wanted to get into audiobooks, so if you know anybody, send them my way. Anyway, that aside, what would I say is the problem with this game? Well, in a nutshell, this has become a game for whales. Unless you've spent a year and hundreds of dollars reaching tech level 10, most of the content at the top of the game is closed to you. In particular, there's very little content for tech level 7, 8 and 9 players, and that's a major problem that prevents players from engaging after the first couple of months. At the other end of the scale, there are tech 10 players who don't want to get into capital ships due to the massive ISK, skill, time and money investment required. I'm one of them, or more accurately, I am 3 of them. Enough ranting. What about solutions? Well, here are a handful of ideas that might help to retain mid-level players long enough for them to reach that topmost rung on the ladder. Number 1, fix customer support. As I mentioned in a previous video, Netease customer support is, to put it bluntly, an absolute abomination. Currently, you create a ticket, then Netease replies, usually with no, and then closes the ticket. If you want to appeal, you have to create a whole new ticket. These days I don't even bother with tickets as I find them to be a waste of time. Number 2, disable or degrade scanning in LowSec. Looking back to the early days, some of my fondest memories were running scroll missions with my posse. Running around the map, doing a combination of high-sec and low-sec missions with your friends was fun and profitable. Then along came scanning, and those low-sec missions suddenly became risky. Lots of battleships and battlecruisers fell victim to gank squads who wandered around low-sec looking to mess up your day. When people stopped doing scroll missions, Netease screwed up. Now I know that Benzie would castigate me and would most likely pontificate about making the game risky, and perhaps he's right. But scroll missions were a fun and great way to bring along the mid-level players in cruisers and battlecruisers with some fun fleet action. Running to a station whenever a grey shows up on local is just not fun. These days, friendly nullsec is actually safer than lowsec, and that's just wrong. One way to fix this would be to tweak scanning so that in lowsec they can detect battleships and above, but nothing smaller. This would allow teams of battlecruisers and cruisers, smaller ships like that, to run those missions as a team sport, while discouraging battleships and capital pilots from taking the easy way out and soloing them. Number 3, add in the missing bits you've been teasing since day one. Eve Echoes is a lot like a car built during the pandemic. There are simply too many bits missing, such as green modules, Yangzheng, decomposers, stuff like that. There are so many items in the market for which there is no supply. And every time I see one of those items, I'm reminded that Netease apparently has no intention of ever introducing them. It's like a great big "we don't care" sign. Number 4. Bring back the test server for us mere mortals. Back in the old days, Netease had a test server that was spun up to allow players to try out the new features before rolling them out on the production server. That was a great idea that has sadly fallen by the wayside. Please bring it back, not just for content creators, but for the rest of us, so that we have a clue about what's coming down the pike. Number 5. Slow your roll. Netease has a tendency to wait for ages and then hit us with half a dozen new features at once. For instance, at the beginning of April, we got the Noctis 2, the Orca Beaver module, good lord, what a name, signal amplifier, fire control system, nanocore exchange, ship rebalancers, new modules, drone changes, implant changes, and a partridge in a pear tree. And then the following month, we got a new carrier, 4 new striker battleships, 4 new faction cruisers, Corporation Outpost Level 4 upgrade, new skills, new nanocores, and gas mining. And in addition, all Capsuleer outposts went into low power mode, all Ansiblex jump gates ran out of fuel, and all the Plex disappeared from the market. Nicely done, Netease. Here's an idea. Add 1 new feature at a time at the start of each month, and then spend the next 3 weeks or so tweaking and fine-tuning it. I personally suspect that Netease are doing this so that they can share one development team between lots and lots of different games, moving them from project to project as necessary. Well, here's a memo to Netease. If you give us part-time developers, we'll give you part-time players. Number 6. Small ship content. Ever since the introduction of capitals, I have been concerned about the direction of this game, as capital ships widen the gap between the haves and the have-nots. At the top you have pilots and carriers making 500 million ISK or more in a single engagement, and at the other end you got new guys with venture 2s and 3s scratching around for the odd million here and there. Ask yourself this question. If I started the game today, would I bother playing it at all? If the answer is no, Netease screwed up. Number 7. Make hacking great again. When hacking first came out, there were plenty of data and relic sites to be found and lots of valuable prizes and loot to be found in them. Then Netease turned the screws, as they inevitably do. The sites became rarer, and the loots became meh. It's now rare to find a site in my little corner of nullsec, and the most valuable thing I'm likely to find is something like a minor circulation 2 blueprint. The same can be said of scouts. A level 9 scout anomaly requires that you risk billions of ISK in ships and fittings for a payout that may only be a few million in value. As a result, we don't even do scouts anymore. When players aren't engaging, Netease screwed up. Number 8. Quit nickel and diming the players. When the Concord Pass first came out, you could get prizes for 70 of the 80 levels without paying it. Then you changed it so that there were 120 levels, but only 90 had prizes that you could get to without spending real money. Then you throttled it back to 100, but there was no point in going beyond level 80 unless you're paying for a pass. On the other hand, the store has expanded to 3 shop fronts and a plethora of different currencies, including splendid coupons, loyalty points, scholar points, interstellar points, science credits, and the list goes on. If there's one part of the game that's working perfectly, It's the shop, and that tells us all we need to know. I have many other suggestions, such as persistent wave or contract or CEO supply notification indicators, warn us when shops are closing, wave 24-hour cooling off periods if you're changing corps within an alliance. But those are the main things that come to mind. Am I making sense, or am I talking out of my hat? Answers on a postcard, please, or better yet, drop a comment in the box below. If you like what you hear, hit the like button and subscribe. Who knows? I might even make some more of these videos. That's all for this one. See you in the next one.